there, folks. Tim Slade here from the eLearning Designers Academy. Thanks so much for checking out this month's Community Challenge recap. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and that bell button so that you can get alerted the next time I publish a video just like this one. Now, if you happen to be new to the eLearning Designers community, each month within the community, we host a challenge that allows participants, allows community members to put their skills into practice to help them design better e-learning and improve their visual design and their instructional design skills. And so for this month's community challenge, for the month of March 2022, we focused on designing a branching scenario template. So as we've done with past community challenge recaps, what I'll go ahead and do is we're going to take a look at the submissions for this month's community challenge, and then I'll show you how I would have tackled this particular challenge. So let's jump on in. All right, so here we are inside the eLearning Designers community, and here's this month's challenge. And as I mentioned at the top of the video, it was all focused on creating a branching scenario template, which can be a challenge because there's a lot of different elements that have to go into creating a branching scenario depending on the type of branching scenario you're creating, right? You need to have the question, you need to have the options a learner can choose from, you need some sort of feedback, and usually with branching scenarios there's also some sort of characters involved or dialogue going back and forth between characters. All of those elements play into creating a really good branching scenario template. So let's jump in, take a look at some of the submissions for this month, and then we'll jump in and I'll show you how I would have tackled it. All right, so our first submission comes from Jaclyn Blum. I apologize if I got your name incorrect. Jaclyn's submission is a branching scenario on Do I Hate My Job? So I'm going to go ahead and open this up here and let's take a look at it. She built hers in Articulate Storyline, I can see. Do I hate my job? First off, I have to say I really love these kind of cheesy, like 1980s looking stock photos. And of course, we have some Comic Sans-like font, which makes it a lot of fun. So let's click here to find out if we hate the job. Okay. Do you find yourself muttering, I love my job over and over again? No. Do you actually forget to go to work? Sometimes. It's official. You hate your job. Oh, that was so simple. Okay, let's try again. Yes. Well, that was quick. You hate your job. Start again. Another answer. Let's do no. Do you have to pass by going back to school for 5 or 7 years? No. Powerful exit speeches. And oh, yes, I have done that. You definitely hate your job. I love that. Thank you, Jaclyn. Let's see the credits here. Oh, I love this. So you used this infographic to build your branching scenario. I love that. Because really, when you think about it, branching scenarios are just that. There's just a decision tree, right, that you go down. I love that you use that. Very good. Thank you, Jaclyn. I appreciate that. That was a fun branching scenario. Okay, so our next one comes from Sarah Wood. Sarah did one on creating the illusion of choice, the template walkthrough downloadable PDF for you to require. So I'm going to open up the PDF first. Let's download it. Okay, so it looks like you kind of built like an infographic style or maybe like an outline of a branching scenario. Who knows, right? The illusion of choice, branching scenario template. Branching scenario key, lavender, main beat, yellow, feedback. Okay, so it's kind of like an outline for one, right? Introduction to the course, hero's thought, learning objectives, inciting incident. So we have a decision point here with 3 different choices, outcome summary, and then another decision point, 3 different choices, another outcome summary. What I like about this, even though it's technically not like a visual template for a branching scenario, what I do like about this, Sarah, is I think it helps illustrate kind of the structure of a branching scenario, right? Like you get to see how not all branching scenarios truly branch, right? This is what I would call like a linear branching scenario where it's giving the illusion of choice, like you said. Maybe that's what you meant up here by the illusion of choice. It's giving the illusion of a branching scenario, but it's still linear at the end of the day, right? And this is a really great way where you can control the scope or at the scale of your branching scenarios. I've created branching scenarios where, you start with a decision point and then you have 3 options, and then each of those 3 options branches to a unique slide, and then those have 3 options that branch to a unique slide, and then before you know it, you have like 84 different outcomes. I've created ones like that before, and they're a lot of work. And so what I like about this is it helps illustrate how you can create something that feels like a branching scenario, right? But it's more linear in terms of its style. So good work on that. Thanks for sharing. Okay. Our next one comes from Regine. Choose your own adventure experience that created to demonstrate how instructional designers, facilitators, and coaches can use as a recommended tool. Okay, let's go ahead and open this. So you created yours. Oh yes, this is a Notion. Notion, I don't know how to describe what Notion is. So Regine, feel free to give some additional clarity on Notion. Notion's it's a collaborative tool. That doesn't help. It's like Google Docs and steroids, a little bit like an Airtable, maybe, right? I don't know. But I like how you did this. So, okay, how to use Notion for learning professionals. Welcome to Learning Heroes. If you're here because you decided to design develop the questions, you must be able to quickly connect, share ideas, client needs, your mission should appreciate what inspires. Select one of the roles below to begin your adventure. Okay, so Stacy's an instructional designer. We're going to explore with Stacy. Okay, explore with Stacy. Meet Stacy. Stacy is an instructional designer. Kind of engaging Stacy. Well, one day Stacy learns that there's superpowers she can pick up and work smarter. Stacy picks up the following superpowers: intelligence, juggling. Let's see what Stacy can do now. Storyboarding projects. Can I click on these? Oh, we get a little pop-up. I like that. Okay. Let's do storyboarding. So you learn a little bit about storyboarding. We have a whole table here. Very cool. Very cool. So it's kind of like an interactive document, kind of like a website. I don't know. But I've never thought of using Notion for this sort of interactive stuff. Like I could see you building like interactive case studies out of something like this. It feels a little bit like Rise, like a basic version of Rise. Still very, very cool. All right. Thank you so much for sharing, Regine. Okay. Continuing on. Theodosis. Theodosis did one on imaginary branching scenario using iSpring. Okay. Very good. For those of you unfamiliar, iSpring is Articulate used to have a tool, well, they still do, Articulate Studio, which is a PowerPoint-based plugin. iSpring is a competitor to that, but I think they've added a lot more to iSpring over the years. You can do branching scenarios and all that stuff, but I think it's still primarily a PowerPoint-based plugin. Okay, so let's launch the course here. Where is it? I know I saw it here. Oh, launch it. Here we go. No. Designing a branching scenario, view more. Okay. Excuse me, I'm looking to buy a new smartphone, but I don't know which one to choose. Okay, so we have a lot of really cool elements happening here. So we have a character, we have a background, we have different options. But what I think is cool up here is we also have this little happiness meter, right? Now, I don't know if that's a built-in feature into iSpring or if you built that from scratch. But let's say here, let's do this way. Okay, so we can see the meter goes down a little bit. So rude, using imperative form, consider polite. So we get some immediate feedback, okay? And what I like about this too is that that feedback stays the same. It doesn't just reset. So it's kind of dynamic in that sense. So we have an opportunity to improve the situation. Okay. So many devices to choose from. How much money are you looking to spend? Okay. A little bit happier. Okay. My budget's $200. Really can't spend more. Great. This one has a camera. Let's do the third one. Good choice. Knowing what the client is. Good. Good. I love this. I love how there's different backgrounds. I love the meter. This is awesome, Theodosis. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. And then Jeanine. Hi, Jeanine. Design a course on my how to become a cat whisperer. Oh my goodness. I plan to create a branching story and articulate storyline and embed it into the course and articulate rise. Here's an outline. So let's open this one up. Can I just open up here? Yes. Okay. So just like earlier, Jeanine, it looks like you're sharing kind of like your outline, the design, the structure of your branching scenario. I'm not sure why it's not loading here. Let's try this one more time, or I'll just open the download. That would be easier. Okay, so we'll give you a branching scenario. Welcome to your new cat into your home. Okay, choose an avatar. Welcome the family member. Bring your own cat home. So we have scenario 1, room scene, someone is vacuuming the floor. What do you do? Allow a person to continue vacuuming. Ask the person to stop. Cat becomes that. So we see here. So we have positive, negative feedback. This is a good example where how branching scenarios can have a hybrid of linear and true branching, right? So we have a decision point, 2 options, make the cat angry, make the cat happy. Then we have a follow-up decision point with 2 outcomes, and then it continues on from there, and then it all eventually comes back together, right? I like that. So cat scratching the furniture, what do you do? So you can see here, these are both, looks like the same scenario. Very good. And then we have an outcome where the cat is happy or sad. I love that. Thank you, Jeanine. I hope you develop this so we can all see it, because I'd love to know what a course on being a cat whisperer looks like. Okay. Okay. So our next one comes from Ayanna. Is that right? I apologize if I got your name wrong, Ayanna. Busy with a new job. Congrats on the new job. Okay, which first came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't think you have a link here. I think we're just looking at some screenshots, and that's okay. So, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And then we have chicken, egg, eggs, and a chicken. Who knows which direction you're going to go with this, but what I really love about it is the simplicity of these graphics and this like crumbled paper background. I think it's cool. So I don't know what direction you're going to go with it. If you ever develop this and have a working link, whether you build this in Storyline, make sure to share it because I think this could be an interesting interaction. So thank you, Ayanna. All right, our next one comes from Grace. Hey, Grace, hope you're doing well. You're still learning Storyline features and tricks. Tried this feature, Storyline 360 in Storyline for months challenge. I wanted to make a story about visiting New York. Okay, let's open this one up. Close this here. Okay. Ooh, this is cool. So you're using the 360 images feature in Storyline. I haven't had a chance to play all around with this too much, but there's some interesting things you could probably do in terms of creating scenarios with this. So for those of you unfamiliar with creating 360 interactions, you can upload this type of media into Storyline and then add these interactive markers that learners can read through or explore through. So a date, you have someone special plan partner. What do you want to do? Choose food, right? Okay, so we have a light box here. Foodie, you have come to the right city. Steak, Italian, sushi, Mexican. Let's do fork. Okay, knife. Okay, close this one out. Continue on. Choose the city. Secrets. I love this. Very good. Choose entertainment. Just clicking on to see what all these do. Very good. Well, let's look at this one here. Art. Very simple. I like this. All right. Thank you so much for sharing this one, Grace. All right. So our next example comes from Brook. Thank you so much for sharing, Brook. Just learned about branching scenarios a couple months ago. Finished a sample for your portfolio. Very good. Congratulations on doing that. Let's take a look. Okay. So we're doing, this is Brook's Art Studio, customer experience training, drawing out your customers' needs. I love that. Love these graphics. We have a mentor, so we have a little helper. This is another common thing you see in scenarios where you might have a mentor available or some sort of help figure, kind of like Clippy from Microsoft, but not annoying as Clippy, right? Hello, I'm Claude. I'm a skilled art coach with excellent customer retention. Okay, very good. So, we'll continue here. Little demonstration, customer appears frustrated, says to herself, I don't get it. Shakes her head, gets up, leaves the room. What do you do? There's some other customers engaged in demonstration. Continue on. Allow the customer to leave. Continue for a few moments. You can find natural place to pause. Pause. Great. Let's do this one. Here you say, you seem upset. Are you frustrated? You seem upset. Customer starts walking towards the door. I think I'm just not creative enough for this class. I won't be returning. This choice have a negative outcome. Why did this happen? Because you need to relate to the customer feels. Very good. Let's try again. What I like about this is like you're giving the learner the option, then they see the consequence of it, and then we get feedback about it. That's one of the great things about creating really good branching scenarios is that you don't want to direct the learner just down the right path, right? You almost want to allow the learner to fail. That's where the learning takes place, right? So you want to allow the learner to do the wrong thing. And your learners will sometimes do that just for fun. They'll do the wrong thing just to see what happens, but there's learning that can happen there, right? Let's do this one. You seem upset. Okay. Let's do this one. Yes, I just don't get it. I really don't think I have more cardboard in my body. What do you say? Sorry, I have a bad experience. Okay. I like as I continue to get it correct, it continues on with the scenario. Okay. And we got it wrong again. I love this. All right. Thank you so much for sharing, Brook. Okay, my branch scenario. Please note this is information purposes only. No worries. It's for Janette. Okay. Executive functioning. Okay, very good. Do you easily lose focus, concentration, struggle to avoid distractions? Yes, I do. Tries for compensate, ask others to keep trying simple, use visuals. Okay. Do you struggle with transitions, unexpected changes, shifting mindset? Sometimes. Tries to compensate. Okay. Let's do no this time. Do you have trouble planning, setting goals, predicting out? No, I do not. Okay. So it's kind of like a survey, right? Like you're asking questions. If I say yes, I get some strategies. If I say no, I get to continue on. You answered all these questions, but if you'd like to learn more. Very good. I like this one. Looks like there's more here that you might have built in. I don't know if we saw that. Oh, no, these are the strategies. I see. Very good. So it's kind of like an interactive survey built as sort of a series of scenario questions, which I really like. Very good. Thanks for sharing that, Janette. All right. As you can see, we went through all those different examples. There's tons of different ways that you can create scenario-based slides and questions, and then how complex you get with them is totally up to you. If you want to just make it a linear scenario or series of scenarios, that's totally fine. It still creates the sense of it being branching, but it's just linear. Or you can create truly branching scenarios or hybrid between the two, where it branches and then it comes back to a singular path, and maybe it branches from there. So I'll show you how I would address this. Whenever I'm creating branching scenarios, I always like to just try to establish a look and feel first, regardless of, even if I don't know how complex I might get with it. And so in this example, what I'd like to demonstrate is how I'd create sort of a conversational branching scenario, one where maybe you as a character are interacting with another character and you need to choose how to respond, and maybe then there's some feedback or some outcomes from that, right? When it comes to scenarios, there's always some consistent elements that I like to include, especially with ones like this where you're playing a character or having a conversation. You obviously want to have characters on the screen. I think that's important. First off. And then second, I also think it's important that you try to create a sense and feel of the environment that the the scenario is taking place, right? So if it's an office, maybe you put it in an office, or a conference room, you make it look like it's in a conference room, right? I think all of those little elements really help. So let's start with just figuring out what the background is going to look like. So I'm going to insert a photo. Let's do photo, and let's do something taking place in a, oh my gosh, where do we want to do this in? I don't know, let's do a hospital. Is that how you spell hospital? I have no idea. That is how you spell it today. Okay, I like this one. We'll choose this one as our design. We'll go ahead and insert that. And before I do anything else with this, one of the things I like to do with my images when I'm doing scenarios like this is I kind of like to blur them out. You saw an example of that in one of the previous demonstrations. I think Theodosis he built an ice ring, had a blurry background. I like to do the exact same thing with my scenarios, only because it helps bring the focus on the foreground items, the characters, the options that they're choosing from, etc., right? Now, I can't blur a photo in Storyline, unfortunately. I know. So what I usually do is I blur it in PowerPoint. So I'm going to save this off real quickly. And let's just export picture, save picture. I could also do a round trip edit with this and say Photoshop or Snagit, but I don't have those on my computer right now. So I'm just going to do this manually in PowerPoint. Let's open up PowerPoint. Give it a moment. Oh my gosh, don't personalize, just let me use PowerPoint. Isn't that always fun when it does that? Okay, so let's throw this image on there. And I'm not only going to blur it, I'm just going to go ahead and crop it here to be a 16:9 aspect ratio as well. So I'm just going to make it as big as the slide here, zoom out a little bit, make this bigger actually, and we will crop it. There we go. So now it's a 16:9, so it'll fit my slide perfectly in Storyline. And for the look and feel, we're going to apply an effect, artistic effect, and we're going to do a blur out. Just like that. I could adjust the blurriness, make it more blurry, less blurry, but I'm happy with that. So we'll save this picture off now. Save this picture, put it on my desktop as my background. Done. Okay, let's come back to Storyline. Don't need that anymore. And we'll insert a picture from my computer. And there's my background. All right, so we have my background. Okay, the next element I want to play around with is where I plan on positioning the question, right? The thing that's going to be asked of the learner. Because you have the conversation, if you're doing a conversational branching scenario, which is what I'll be doing here, you'll have the dialogue back and forth between the characters, but you also want to be able to tell the learner, select the item you're responding to, or maybe you want to provide some context about the scenario before they respond, right? So actually, let's do this first. Before I build that out, let's make this like a starter slide here, right? Now that I'm thinking about it, you usually want something at the beginning that's going to establish the scenario. So let's do that. And I'm just totally freestyling this. So let's start with a character here. I'm going to insert a character. And what kind of characters do I want to go with today? I am going to stick with, I like these modern illustrated ones. Let's just do that. Let's see if I can find a medical one. Yeah, I like her. Let's do Maya. Okay, so I downloaded her. Let's do an expression. Let's try a pose here. Okay, we're going to do this. Insert Maya here. And we'll make her a little bit larger here. One of my pet peeves when it comes to using characters in Storyline is for whatever reason, I just don't like when you have the whole character on the screen. Especially on this background, it doesn't look realistic, right? So we want to look like she is obviously in the foreground. So I'm going to make her quite large, and she's going to be cut off kind of like at the hip or at the thigh there, right? Okay, so we have her there. One thing you might do on something like this is just a visual design thing. It's nothing to do with scenarios. This is a great example where you might want to add a drop shadow to create some delineation between the foreground and background. So I'm going to add a shadow, do my shadow options, and let's do a shadow here. And I'm just going to play with these settings, make it a little bit bigger, and blur it out so it's not so dominant. Let's do that. And let's play around with the transparency here. That's good. Okay. It's a very, very subtle drop shadow, but it's there. Okay, so again, this is going to be the first slide in the scenario. Before you even get to the scenario, this is kind of a slide you would use to set the context of the scene. So I'm going to also add a shape here. Again, I'm totally making this up as I'm going. So I am designing this from scratch, just to see what I come up with. Let's do a shape fill of white with no outline. And let's bring her to the front, because I like having her hand kind of overlap there, right? Actually, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually insert a shape. And let's do a rounded rectangle here. And what I'm doing here, I mean, this is almost essentially like visual prototyping, right? I am just playing around with the look and feel to see what I might create. And I might change this, obviously, once you have real content. But sometimes it can be healthy to do this just to play around with how you might lay something out as you're designing something. Do white fill, no outline. Okay. And let's add some text here. Now, I'm not going to use real text here because I don't have any real content to work with, so we'll make it up. We'll add a heading here. We'll say, scenario. All right, let's do something. Let's put it into practice. And then maybe we'll do this. Scenario 1. And let's play around with some fonts here. So let's do something big and bold. Arial black, no. Arial is so overused. Let's do something more fun. Scrolling through these fonts can always be a little hectic. It jumps all over the place. Let's just try going up a little bit here. There we go. Okay. We'll do Roboto black, because why not? We'll make it bigger. And then let's do this as Roboto as well, but not as thick or chunky. If I can get to it. Okay, let's do Roboto, like a light Roboto. There we go. Okay. So we'll put this up here. Okay, and now let's add some body text here. Now this is where I'm going to just add some basic lorem ipsum text here. And if I remember correctly, you can pre-generate lorem by doing lorem. Is that how you spell lorem? Let's find out. No, I knew I didn't spell it right. Lorem. Well, let me Google it. This is a great example where I always forget. Lorem ipsum. L-O-R-E-M. Oh, E-M. There we go. So you do equal sign, lorem, parentheses, and the number of paragraphs you want, right? So now I have some lorem ipsum text here. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'm going to insert a button, and maybe this will be a get started button, next button, whatever the case might be, right? I'll just add that down here. Okay. Now let's play with the colors a little bit. I kind of like these blue colors in her uniform, and so we'll tie that in here into our design, right? So maybe I'll set this color here to, I don't know, that blue, and then we'll do the same thing with this one here. So it kind of ties in the design. And if I wanted to, for the sake of it, no outline, let's do a hover state. And, oh, kind of already did that color, the darker color I was going to go for there. I'll just leave it like that, because I was going to select this dark color, but it pretty much already matches it pretty well. All right. And as for the body text here, I'm not a big fan of using straight black text here. And, oh, let's change this to lorem or Roboto light as well. I always like using kind of an off black, so I usually select something like this, a little darker. Just makes it a little easier on the eyes. And let's also add in, I'm gonna add a little line here, this little design element I like to do, just a separator. We will make it a dark color and weight. We'll do something like that. Okay. So there is my starting slide, and I might mess around with this here a little bit. This doesn't need to be as big as it is. Okay, so there is my starting screen for my scenario, right? So now let's do a decision point, the actual part of the scenario where learner has to make a choice. But I've kind of established my look and feel here, right? So maybe this will be a scenario on interacting with the patient, who knows? So let's duplicate this and let's adapt this design to a different situation. So let's change the way she looks here, and we're gonna change her expression, and maybe we'll have her thinking. Let's do this one. Maybe she's interacting with a patient, right? Let's do a different pose. Maybe like this. Unsure what to do, right? There we go. And make her a little bit smaller here. And maybe what I'll do is I'm going to, let's just put her over here for now, and let's just adjust a few things here. Maybe where I want kind of the question that the learner is responding to be, let me just center that there. Make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so maybe that'll be up there. And I'm just gonna, question 1. Maybe that's not what I would really call it, but we'll just go with that for right now. Make that smaller. Put that up there, and let's center that. We don't need that anymore. So we will position this text here. And maybe this text is going to be like, read the scenario and select the correct response. You know, something along those lines. You kind of get the point, right? Range, align to center. And here for the actual scenario, maybe what we'll do here, so let's do another box here. And let's just align it right here, just like that. And we'll get rid of our button here. Actually, I'm gonna use that maybe here. And maybe that could be a separator there. Okay, so let's add her back up here. I'm gonna have her sitting behind the box, but we'll make her smaller. Let's make her a lot smaller so we can kind of see her there. We can even go smaller than that. Okay, now let's add another character. What I like to do is I just like to duplicate a character and then change it this way. So let's choose a character that's going to be a patient. Maybe she's interacting with a doctor or a nurse or a patient, but let's say Alex is our patient. So we'll download Alex here. And we'll do an expression. And that is not Alex's expression. Let's find Alex again here. Where did Alex go? There we go. Alex, expression. And he's going to be alarmed. Maybe he got some news that he's alarmed about. And he's unsure, but we don't want him angry, right? Okay, so we'll put Alex in there. Nice thing about doing that is it keeps the same size for the character, so I don't have to change the new size, to change the match the size. So let's bring that to the front here. He can be here. And you know what, we'll bring her to the front. Actually, it's a great instance to use my timeline. Let's put her in front of Alex like that. Okay, something like that. Let's select both of them and put them here more towards the middle. Actually, you know what we'll do? We're going to move him here. Move her here because we're going to have a speech bubble for him. Maybe he's saying something, right? And we'll do this one here. We'll position this there to kind of indicate it's coming from him. And maybe this will be our text here. Again, just dummy text. And for the look and feel of it, maybe what we'll do is we will change it to be, well, let's go with this darker color here. And we'll change the font to be white. And no outline on that shape, right? So maybe that's what he's saying. And then down here, we can put, you know, different responses, maybe how she'll respond, right? And so we'll just use the same shape and we'll put a couple of responses down here. But actually what we're going to do first is we're going to change this to be on this side here. And we'll do response 1. Actually, I'll just leave it the same. We would obviously have different text in each response. Response 2. And then response number 3. And we'll just distribute these. Oops. Move you over there. Do my arrange, align, distribute. Very good. Okay. And another thing I like to do is I like to have a visual indicator that, you know, we also need her response, right? So maybe what I'll do is I'll take one of these and I'll position it, you know, maybe like this. We're going to bring this to the front. And let's change the style of this to be outline. Maybe we'll do this color for the outline, but we'll do white fill. And we can say, you know, how would you respond? Or select how you would respond. Obviously, we can't read that. So let's change this text to be this blue color there. Okay, and then you know what we can do? Just do that. Maybe we can bring, let's do her in front of that rectangle too. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Nah, that doesn't look good. That's fine. So we'll just put this back up here. You know what we can do actually? We can reflect this. I'll move her over here a little bit. Okay, we don't need this button anymore. Okay, so that's kind of a scenario slide, right? So we have the beginning, the slide that sets the context here. Let's just make this jump to next slide. Okay, and let's preview this, the entire project, see what we got here. Okay, so we have, obviously I would play around with the menu and everything, but here we'll start the scenario. And then here we have a scenario slide. So we have some content up here. We can see the scenario. And then, of course, I can play around with the layout of these, move these up a little bit, but we have 3 options that the learner can choose from, right? None of this is actually functional right now, but we're just designing a look and feel for how this might work, right? Now, the final element we need to add is some feedback. So what would happen, when the learner clicks an option, what sort of feedback do they get? And that's something you always want to include in your branching scenarios as well. So I'm going to create a layer, and I'm just going to create one example of how the feedback might look. And of course, I would then rinse and repeat for the different types of feedback. So I'll create a new feedback or a new slide layer. I'll call this my feedback. And for this, I think what I'll do, I'm going to show you a cool little trick that I've used in the past where I can make this whole thing look blurred out and then the feedback on top of it, which is kind of a cool effect. So I'm actually going to preview this slide and I'm going to take a screenshot. Maybe I do have snag. You know what actually I can do? Take a screenshot with PowerPoint. Let's delete that. Insert. Let's do a screenshot, a screen clipping. And I'm going to take a screenshot of my slide. I'll show you what I'm going to do here. Okay, so I've done that. Now let's grab that from PowerPoint. I'll copy it. And I'm going to actually paste this on my slide layer. Oh, no, actually, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to blur it. Let me blur it out first. That's what I wanted to do. Artistic effects, blur it out. Okay. Now I'm going to copy it and paste it on my slide layer. And it's going to create this effect as if the slide has blurred out, which is pretty cool. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a shape on top of this. Let's put it all the way on top. And I'm going to make it have kind of a black fill, no outline. Let's right click, format shape, set the transparency to, I don't know, let's just do like 50% here. That's a little too dark. Let's do 60%. There we go. Okay. Now, what do we want to have on our feedback layer? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back here. Let's copy this square here. And maybe we'll put that here in the middle. Yeah, maybe that's what it'll be. It'll cover up kind of the scenario part of it, right? And what we can do here is we'll take him, copy and paste, and maybe what we'll do, he's going to have an outcome, right? He's going to respond in some way. So we'll put him there, and maybe we'll crop him. Let's just make it look like we get, you know, good feedback. So we'll make him happy this time. So we'll change the expression. We'll make him happy. He's not pointing at his mouth when he's happy, that's for sure. That doesn't make sense. Nobody does that, right? So we're going to do happy with the hand thing, whatever that is, right? And I kind of want his hand gesturing this way, so this is a good example where, again, I'm going to reflect and flip it horizontally. I like that. There we go. Okay. And let's then do this. Let's crop him. And let's just crop him like this. So it's kind of him sitting there like that. Okay. And maybe he'll have responded with something, right? So we'll bring this back over. And we'll put that there because he's going to have responded. We'll do it like this. We'll overlap it a little bit. It creates kind of a cool look. And then maybe what we'll do is I'll just grab this text here. This is what our feedback will be, right? So we'll see his response, which is important, right? But then we'll also provide our own feedback about, you know, why this was right or wrong or otherwise. And I'll delete that there. Okay. And then let's grab a button here. So maybe this will be our continue button on our feedback, right? And we can do some cool like overlapping like this. Okay, good. So let's do this. Let's say, let me just adjust some of this here actually. Let's do this as a format. We'll do a white fill, the blue outline. I'll make it a little thicker. Do like 2 point, okay. And then we'll make the font be that color as well. Okay, I'm going to delete these actually because I'm going to recreate these so we can kind of see what this looks like. This needs to definitely be brought up from when we looked at it. And let's edit some states for this. Edit states. Let's add a hover state. And we will make the hover state be the inverse of this, which is going to be kind of hard. Let me select the color from here. And there we go. And make the text white. And then we'll just do a selected state. That's pretty much the same thing. Format, shape fill, text white. Okay. So let me just duplicate this button. Okay. Now, for the sake of demonstration purposes, I'm just going to do one trigger on one of these. So we'll do it with this one, and we're going to tell it to show layer our feedback when user clicks on it. Of course, this would be different if I were using the freeform tool in Storyline where I wanted to report it and track it as a quiz, but in this case, we're just playing around with look and feel, right? So let's see what this might look like. Let's preview the entire project. Okay, so we'll start the scenario. Here's our scenario slide, right? We have our 3 options. Click this one. And now we have our feedback layer with the blurry background, right? I just took a screenshot of that to create that effect, and then we can continue on from there. All right, so that's an example of like a scenario-based template, right? It took me 30 minutes to create that. I'm just playing with some images, some characters, some simple shapes and colors, and laying it out and just playing around with how I might make this look. The great thing is that once you've built something like this is a repeatable process, right? For each scenario question, I can just repeat this same layout. I might adjust it depending on the question. And same thing with my feedback, right? I can change out my character's expression. Maybe I add some correct or incorrect text in the feedback, right? It's something that you can easily repeat with as you continue building out your scenarios, if this were a real scenario, all right? So thank you so much for watching this month's Community Challenge recap. As a reminder, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and that bell button so you can get alerted the next time I publish a video just like this one. And of course, check out the links down in the description for this month's Community Challenge and all the submissions. And of course, stay tuned inside the eLearning Designers community for our next challenge coming up, all right? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you around.